get some.
All right, everyone, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk entertainment. Oh, it's a Thursday show. It's a Friday show. We had a great stream on Thursday. If you didn't get the chance to take a look at it, make sure you go and watch the replay of it. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good information, a lot of good comments. I think I always say it before, and I always mean it from the bottom of my heart. I have some of the best subscribers on YouTube and some of the smartest in regards to not only football, but the Giants as well. Want to talk about Bobby Johnson, the offensive line coach for the Giants. Want to talk about OTAs, everything that's going on? Because you know what? We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Bobby Johnson, who was the offensive line coach for the Giants, is an interesting guy. He's an interesting dude if you take a look at his career. He's been around for a while. The only thing I don't understand, and I'm not sure if I fully can appreciate it, is the fact that he's bounced around quite a bit. He started his career in Akron from like 95 as a graduate assistant. Then he was at Miami of Ohio, Indiana, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Detroit, the Raiders, Indianapolis, the Bills, and then over to the Giants. I will say this. If you are a true quality offensive line coach, you are sometimes hard pressed to get to have a team want to move on from you unless you decide that you are going to move into the higher rankings, maybe into an offensive coordinator position and try to position yourself into becoming a head coach. But he has gone from assistant line coach to tight ends coach to tight ends coach, assistant line coach to tight ends coach to assistant offensive line coach, to offensive line coach, to now the Giants offensive line coach. So I'm not judging that in his career or saying that his career is going to be defined by this, but I just find that interesting. But I also find it interesting some of the comments that he made yesterday. He was talking about the Giants offensive line. He was talking about the things that they need to do and the players that they have. And I actually found it quite interesting, some of the things that he said. And this is one of the things that I found interesting, said when he was talking about John Feliciano.
He feels like he has something to prove every day, not only as a player, as a man, and I know that's how he plays. He plays with an edge that you want your room to have. I jokingly, when I write the depth chart every day on the board, I write their names or their nicknames, and his is Dirtbag. That's how he plays. Not in a illegal fashion, but he plays the game on the edge, and you have to have that. And sometimes if you don't have that in each guy, you have to develop that kind of attitude in the room. And John plays that way. Mark Glowinski plays that way. I think we have other guys that will play that way, and they'll find from me as their coach, if they don't play that way, they will not play.
And I think that was an interesting comment. And I love the fact that he's saying that you need, and if anyone that's played professional football or in college football at a high level, you understand sometimes you do need to play on the edge. There is that line between being a dirty player and being a tough player. It's a very, very it's a finite line. But there's been plenty of players that have walked that line. I walked that line in college, between being dirty and just being tough. And I think he actually understands what Bobby Johnson is, what the offensive line coach, not the wide receiver, understands what that means. And I think he is trying to create that type of atmosphere with the Giants. And he's trying to create, and I've said this before, and this is something the Giants have been lacking for years. They're trying to create an identity. They're trying to create a philosophy. You go back to the Giants teams and the Super Bowl teams, they always had an identity. They always had a philosophy. And I think that's what he's trying to do with this squad. The only thing I didn't like is in the comment was the fact that when he was talking about the offensive line and what it went through last year, he says, I would say this, I noticed a sense of this in their profession called scar tissue, or not to make light of the situation, some say it's PTSD, or other things that happen to you that shape your identity or shape your philosophy. And there are some guys I've interacted with that have had that because of the things that have happened in recent past. I don't buy that. I'm sorry. I've been around the league as well. I've been in college. I don't buy that. I think a lot of times people, and I also don't like the PTSD because I know a lot of veterans and I know people that have actually have that and are suffering in reference to combat. But I just don't, that statement I didn't like because I don't think a coaching staff defines you. I think losing defines you. There are certain players that I think, and this is kind of going back to what he's talking about, there's certain players in my mind that have what they refer to as a loser mentality. that anything that goes wrong is not their fault. They want to blame everyone else for everything else, and they never want to take responsibility. And I think what I like about Bobby Johnson right now is the fact that he's trying to create a unit that is going to be responsible for themselves, responsible for their teammates, and work as a unit. And we talked about this yesterday. We talked about the Giants. To me, this first year, and I've said it before, the Giants this first year under Brian Daboll and the Shane are potentially going to be a collection of talent and not a team. And there's a difference between being a collection of talent and actually being a cohesive unit. Because sometimes as a team, you do not need to have the best talent to succeed. But sometimes when you have a collection of talent, it's not working together as a unit who will not succeed. And I think what the Giants are going to do and what they've been trying to do with all these roster moves and everything else is build that cohesive unit, build into the guys that they think will fit the system and work with them to make sure they fit the system as a unit. And I'm interested to see what Bobby Johnson can do with this unit. I'm interested to see what the takeaways are when we actually get into training camp. Once you get into the dog days of training camp, that's where you're going to learn about players. Not in OTAs, not in shorts and helmets. You're not learning anything about anything. Like I said, and what you're seeing at OTAs, how many players have we seen excel in OTAs and then crash and burn in training camp? There's too many of them. There's too many to discuss. So let's get into training camp, and then we can see what's going on. But I do like Bobby Johnson's philosophy. And I love the dirtbag comment. I love that because I've heard that comment millions of times before, especially if you've ever been in NFL locker rooms. Yeah, and even college, like there are players that are dirtbags, and it's not a comment that is derogatory, as he's saying. It's just you got a nastiness to you. You're not a dirty player, but you got a nastiness. The Giants had their third and final OTA of the week. They will be back next week. They had some 7-on-7, 11-on-11 drills. They evidently had and this again, it was nice that the actual media could come out and see the Giants, because everything was coming from the Giants in-house media. So they had a 2-hour practice with a handful of drills. Evidently, there was a lot of guys walking around in red jerseys. Red jerseys mean don't hit me. Don't hit me. Kadarius Toney was one of them, but he was actually in the building and working. He warmed up and caught some, with some catches, and he stayed. And they were saying, what are they saying? He warmed up and caught some stationary passes before practice. Otherwise, he didn't participate in any team drills or individual drills. Of course, Sterling Shepard is coming back from that Achilles. Kind of did the similar thing. Kenny G was also in a red jersey, but they're not saying why. But they're not gonna tell you why right now, because like I said, it's OTAs. It's all good. Daniel Jones, they said, had an up and down day. Some people unofficially tracked him on the 11 drills at 8 for 11, but then he threw a bad interception downfield that was picked off by Julian Love. And I love it because, it's one of those things. You have to defend Daniel Jones. He throws an interception. Well, it wasn't his fault. His top targets were David Sills and Alex Bachman. So it wasn't his fault. So it was everyone else's fault. This is what I talk about, though, in reference to Bobby Johnson saying you got to have an edge to you. You got to have a nastiness, but you also have to accept responsibility. That's all I'm going to say. Because I love it because one reporter said, it wasn't exactly the murderer's row. And then they come back and say, you also missed David Sills on a rollout to the back of the end zone. Evidently the Love interception was a good play. And people are saying it was a sort of throw that Dable seems to be pushing Jones to make in practice. And these are the things we've talked about going downfield. You have to get concerned about Daniel Jones' ability to throw downfield. I know people say, well, 2 years ago, Pro Football Focus had him ranked the 5th best passer throwing the ball downfield. Yeah, but he threw 13 attempts. Everyone else had like 44. So, there were times last year when he took the shots downfield that he either underthrew or threw the ball out of bounds. But like I said, it's, only time is going to tell to see what we're going to do. Then Brian Dable came out and says, we want to make sure we protect the ball. But again, you can't go out there and play afraid. Be smart, not reckless. If you will, if he gets a shot on the right read, let's go. I want him to turn it loose. I still, it's funny that you weren't the guy that's, The guy that's turnover prone, you want to turn loose. So it is what it is. But like I said, it's still practice. And again, they said there was a bunch of players that were wearing red jerseys. Limited practice yesterday was going to be Andrew Thomas, Blake Martinez, which we knew, Quincy Roche, Cam Brown, TJ Brunson, Richie James, and Austin Prohl. Non-participants were Kenny G, Kadarius Toney, Sterling Shepard, Matt from Connecticut, Nick Gates, Colin Johnston, Jamal Douglas, and Rodarius Williams. Of course, those are all things. You had a couple people that weren't in the building. You had Dexter Lawrence and Ricky Seals-Jones that were excused for personal reasons. While Wan'Dale Robinson was also absent, but he did attend the rookie he was absent. I can't talk today. While he attended the mandatory rookie symposium. I love the rookie symposium, and I'll have to get into a story about the rookie symposium because I've actually been to one, and it's funny because they have former players that come in and talk to the rookies, and most of these guys, I'm not gonna say a lot, most. I'm not gonna paint with a broad stroke, but some of the guys fall asleep in these meetings. They don't really pay attention. But you have former players that come in and basically tell you how they lost all their money, how they trusted the wrong people, how they thought the money train was never going to end. You know, and you would think that these guys would listen more because, you know, some people, this is going to be their big payday. This is their lottery. But sometimes, you know what happens? The lottery money runs out. So I just hope that some of these guys, really understand what's going on. Kayvon Thibodeau pulled himself out of some drills late in practice. He got twisted to the ground, they're saying, but he seemed to be okay at the end of the practice. All the new players the Giants signed, all the defensive backs the Giants signed on Wednesday and Thursday were in uniform. Was there anything else exciting? I'm trying to read through all the Twitter, see if anything else was exciting. Let's see. The starting Giant offensive line yesterday was Corey Cunningham. I actually like Corey Cunningham. Shane Lemieux, John Feliciano, right guard, Mark Lewinsky, and Evan Neal at right tackle. They're saying the big competition seems to still be remaining with Lemieux at the left guard position. But he's getting pushed by the what's the name? One of the rookies and one of the veterans we signed as well. I think he's probably going to end up starting. All in all, they're saying that, like I said, it is what it is. The backup quarterbacks evidently had a rough time. Tyrod Taylor was sacked at least 3 times by Ward, the outside linebacker, and Jalen Holmes and defensive end, Ryder Anderson. So you know what? I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. But third-string quarterback Davis Webb had a nice connection on a deep ball to C.J. Ward during a 7-on-7 drill that would have scored a touchdown. But then they're saying he was a little bit more inaccurate. I did find it interesting that Jaron Williams, evidently they're saying he is appearing to be being moved to safety full time. I mean, the kid's shown some skills at the corner position. He filled in late last year when we had a bunch of injuries. I mean, I like the fact that he also has the flexibility to play both the outside and the inside in reference to a cornerback position. But I guess adding him to the safety mix is because of the fact that we're kind of we're kind of at a quandary. We're kind of at a crossroad at that safety position. So you know what? But like I said, it's the OTAs. It's fun to talk about because the Giants are back in the swing of it. It's good to see the guys on the field. But you know what? Once we get to mandatory mini camps and once we get into training camp, that's when we're really going to see this team take shape, take form, and we're going to start to see the Dable, Kafka, and the Wink system. Oh, I just got to talk about Kafka real quick. I love it because everyone's like, I love it because everyone is like, because Mike Kafka came out and said, Daniel Jones is a smart kid. He's this. And everyone's like, look, they love him. And I thought to myself, are people really this obtuse? What do you want Kafka to come out and say? I think he sucks. We're going to get rid of him next year. He can't throw the deep ball. He can't go through his progressions. Of course, he's going to say everything nice under the sun. Oh, I tell you, sometimes I do feel like I'm taking crazy pills. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could you can subscribe. If you ring that bell, you know what it means. That'd be awesome.